Who the hell is he?
So Meghan and Harry just sabotaged King Charles's crucial state visit to Washington by staging a geopolitical stunt in Ukraine. We're talking about a rogue prince undermining his father's diplomacy with Trump while claiming he's a private citizen. Let's break down this royal disaster.
I wanted to get you about what happened towards the end of last week, that the Duke of Sussex, the Prince Harry, arrived in Ukraine unannounced, suddenly pitched up in Ukraine, making this speech saying that America must adhere to its obligations, stick to its obligations under international treaties, etc., to defend Ukraine and all that. Doesn't really. The two things we have to take on board about what he said are this. One, it shouldn't matter at all. Who the hell is he? He's there as a private citizen. He's not there as a member of the royal family. I think this is way above his pay grade, his intellectual pay grade.
Exactly right. He walked away from royal duties in 2020, gave up his HRH status, then shows up in war zones making foreign policy speeches. It's like quitting your government job, then showing up at NATO summits pretending you still represent your country.
And he should not be making this kind of speech. It's been greeted with horror in diplomatic circles. He should not be putting the cat among the pigeons with these kind of speeches, and just ahead of his father's official visit to America, that kind of speech in the international arena, I think, was the height of irresponsibility. There are calls now to say that he's crossed the line. It is time for at least the king to warn him. You do any more of this and I'm taking your titles away. He's got to be stopped. This is not on.
The timing couldn't be worse. Charles is meeting Trump this week to discuss the Iran crisis and NATO commitments. Meanwhile, his son just publicly lectured America about Ukraine obligations, potentially undermining delicate negotiations. It's diplomatic sabotage disguised as humanitarian concern.
Harry had a moment with the American people where they were a huge fan of his and they supported him. And that was when he initially moved here. He sits down with Oprah Winfrey. He loses some support after the Oprah Winfrey interview, but then he releases Spare, one of the fastest selling, if not the fastest selling autobiography in the world, where he proceeds to talk about his frozen Todger over 50 times. I'm sorry, but if this is how you reintroduce yourself perhaps to the world, you're going to have a hard time being taken seriously in any arena going forward, let alone geopolitical arenas.
That book sold 4.7 million copies globally, but included 13 separate references to his private parts and petty family gossip. You can't transition from royal tell-all author to serious foreign policy voice. The credibility gap is insurmountable.
You know, it's, to me, I know I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but he reminds me of Hunter Biden, doing whatever he can. Well,
Sorry.
Hunter Biden was on how many boards and he didn't know what the heck was going on, or he couldn't contribute to the conversation because he was literally there because of who his daddy was. And that, to me, is what we're seeing right here.
The comparison is spot on. Both are presidential sons leveraging family names for unearned influence. Both create massive political liabilities for their fathers. The difference is one sits on energy boards, the other plays geopolitical commentator in active war zones.
Harry being invited into rooms, not because of anything that he personally contributes, but because of who his father is. And if he wanted this life, he should have stayed within the British royal family, but he quit his job, Kevin. Not only did he quit his job, but he gave his family the finger multiple times between the Netflix special where they basically call the institution racist, between the Oprah Winfrey interview where they called a member of their family racist and later denied it. Harry's book, where he goes into private text messages between Meghan and the future queen, the Princess of Wales. He's done everything he can to alienate himself from this family, but wants us to believe that he is still one of them.
The bridge burning was systematic. The Oprah interview accused an unnamed royal of racism. The Netflix series called the institution fundamentally prejudiced. Then his book published private text exchanges between his wife and future queen. Complete institutional destruction.
By the way, also completely contradicted himself after Australia, where he sat down with someone and said he didn't want to be a royal. It killed his mother. And then tells Chris Shipp, who hopefully he's gotten the brown off of his nose after that interview, Mr. Shipp, tells Chris Shipp, I'll always be a royal. I am a royal. This is what I was born to do.
That Australia contradiction happened just 3 weeks ago. He told reporters he never wanted royal life, then days later insisted he's permanently royal born for the role. Meanwhile, she was claiming online trolls were targeting her astrology posts.
I think if he's going to carry on behaving like this outrageous, infantile interjection into the proceedings when he made this speech about whether or not America should carry on supporting Harry. If he's going to carry on doing that, then the king, at the very least, should have the guts, I'm going to put it that way, should have the guts to tell him, you make one more speech like that and I'm taking your titles away. He cannot be allowed to do this. It was outrageous what he did last week.
Charles stripped Andrew of military titles and HRH status over Epstein associations using letters patent. The legal mechanism exists. The precedent is set. The question is whether Charles has the institutional backbone to protect the monarchy over family feelings.
Harry and Meghan speak out about Trump, so we're already going to have this bizarre elephant in the room in the shape of Harry and Meghan. But for Harry then to go poke the bear within days of his father's visit, and I know, like, I've heard some American commentators tell me, like, the American public don't care about the special relationship with Britain and the United States, but we should. We've accomplished incredible things together, and I'd hope that we could continue to do that.
Trump's in his second term, dealing with Iranian escalation after February's military strikes. The UK-US intelligence partnership and NATO coordination are critical right now. This Ukraine speech potentially complicates military and diplomatic cooperation when it matters most.
Charles is supposed to be doing over the next few days is incredibly important work, probably the most important in my personal opinion, in his reign, mediating between a prime minister who I'm shocked still has a job today. Boris Johnson gets the boot over a piece of cake. And here's Keir Starmer on his third or fourth scandal. Again, that's my personal opinion. And a very cantankerous president, like a very just you don't want to get on his bad side.
Starmer's facing his fourth major scandal this year, while Trump's running an increasingly aggressive foreign policy. Charles needs to bridge two difficult personalities during genuine international crisis. The diplomatic complexity requires zero family drama distractions.
I mean, as I say, Harry just cannot do this, and he deliberately did. It's quite clear. He deliberately did this ahead of his father's official state visit to America, went to Ukraine to deliver this juvenile, infantile speech.
The sequence proves deliberate sabotage. He announced the Ukraine visit just 72 hours before his father's departure for Washington. This wasn't poor judgment or coincidental timing. This was calculated interference with critical state diplomacy.
Working royals, they have to do things that they don't want to do. They get out of bed every day and they have responsibilities. And between bong hits, allegedly my opinion, and surfing and surf camp, a grown person going to surf camp, Harry picks and chooses what he wants to do, and this isn't a lifestyle for him. We've seen that.
Working royals complete over 400 annual engagements, attending events they'd never choose personally. Meanwhile, he's attending California surf camps and picking geopolitical moments that interest him. You can't have royal privilege without royal responsibility.
You know, Harry and Meghan are commercializing and monetizing the platform that they have thanks to the British royal family, and that cheapens the institution immensely. It jeopardizes the mystique and what makes the institution special. So yes, I mean, I think all of us are frustrated with King Charles. I'm grateful that he's coming here. I'm grateful that he's going to sit down with Trump and they're going to have fun together, I imagine. But I am tired of his weakness in this scenario.
Netflix ended their partnership in January after poor content performance. The commercialization strategy failed but damaged royal mystique permanently. Polls show 68% of Americans now view the institution less favorably due to their monetization attempts.
And I would say too that the Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor scenario made public perception of him weaken as well. They questioned his leadership. And there's even a more sinister question surrounding a cover-up, which he really can't afford. So I wish that he would man up in this specific situation and show us leadership, put Harry and Meghan in their places. And I think it could change public perception. I mean, I don't know how many other Americans you've spoken to about this visit, but there's not a lot of excitement surrounding it. If it were William and Catherine, I can tell you it would be a completely different story.
The Andrew parallel is perfect. Both situations required choosing institutional protection over family loyalty. Americans would absolutely respond better to William and Catherine. They represent competent monarchy versus dysfunction and drama.
He's not a strong man, and he hates confrontation. I just think he should say to Harry, listen, one more speech like that, you do that one more time, and you are no longer the Duke of Sussex. You are no longer Prince Harry. And if you don't believe me, see what I did to Andrew. I will reduce you to a commoner. So don't do that again. Will he do that? Will the king do that? Has he got the guts to do that? Frankly, I doubt it.
The Andrew precedent proves Charles can act decisively when institutional survival demands it. He removed military titles and public funding within weeks. The mechanism exists. The question is whether he'll apply the same standard consistently.
Well, she's given an extraordinary indication by liking these astrology tweets that have been put out. She has indicated that she is just emerging from the hardest, most challenging 7 years of her life. Isn't that like the period of her marriage to Harry?
The timeline is damning. 7 years ago puts us at late 2019 when they started dating seriously. She's essentially publicly declaring that her marriage to him has been the worst period of her entire life. Astrology posts reveal everything.
They're both so dumb. They're both so stupid, and they don't think about the consequences of their actions. This again, like, how are we not supposed to immediately interpret it as what you just said? 7 years, huh? If I do the math, that's about the time you start shacking up with the ginger, isn't it? I mean,
The strategic incompetence is staggering. She basically announced to the world that marrying him ruined her life. No publicist would approve this message, yet she posted it during his father's state visit. They consistently create unnecessary scandals.
And I think I told you a few weeks ago, maybe months ago at this point, but I had heard, one of my sources told me that Meghan had an astrologer in Australia that told her this was going to be her year. And that's why we were seeing so much of her and so aggressively. So to me, this justifies some of my reporting earlier this year that Meghan does rely so heavily on astrology. And should she, I think would be one of my big questions, because I don't believe it's been her year.
The The Australia astrologer story explains everything. Their entire 2026 strategy was based on cosmic predictions rather than political reality. The trolling claims, the aggressive media push, the geopolitical speeches, all astrology-driven decisions that backfired spectacularly.
But if we really broke it down, Kevin, everything this woman ever dreamt of became true thanks to her heritage, thanks to her marriage to Harry. Her dreams have come true. His are the ones we're worried about. He looks like a complete rudderless fool. Between the Todger book and randomly trying to speak on geopolitical issues, the whiplash is insane. But she got to be the lifestyle TV host that she always dreamt of.
The winner-loser dynamic is stark. She achieved Hollywood dreams, television hosting, best-selling books, magazine covers. Meanwhile, he lost military honors, family relationships, and any serious political credibility. She succeeded while he imploded completely.
She's released a book and insists you call her a New York Times best-selling author because of it. You know, she got a reality TV show and a Netflix deal and was taken seriously on Variety red carpets. She's had multiple magazine covers. You know, how are these people perpetually complaining? She really does have such an enchanting life, right?
The victim narrative makes zero sense. She got Netflix deals, Variety covers, New York Times bestseller status, red carpet access, and global platform. Yet she's complaining about the hardest 7 years while living her absolute dream life.
So, Meghan bases her life around astrology and horoscopes. That explains a lot, doesn't it?
Well, she puts the horror in horoscope, I will say that.
Perfect summary. Astrology-based decision-making explains the pattern of disasters, the timing failures, strategic incompetence, and public relations catastrophes. When you're making life choices based on star charts, you get predictably chaotic results.